If I could have your attention, please, we're going to start the meeting in about 1 minute. As we do each month, I would like to have a moment of reflection, and this is not a political ad, I would say that. I would just ask and probably preach to the choir, and those that are watching remotely, get out and vote. We take that for granted. Again, I'm not endorsing anyone, just get out and vote. That's your right. And then whoever wins, support that male or female, or all parties, all positions, whether it's trustee, commissioner, whatever, just support them and get out and vote. So, for a moment of silence for all those who are working polls and safety forces. Tomorrow's a very busy day, so just a moment of silence on behalf of protecting everyone involved who's has a role in that process in any way, shape, or form. Thank you. 7 o'clock. This meeting has been recorded for information purposes. We normally say it each month, and sometimes earlier than later. For the record, roll please.
Okay, Mrs. Devitt, here. Mr. Carrera.
Here.
Mr. Suttles.
Here. Stand for the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you start with the first item, please?
Okay. I would like to ask the trustees for a motion to accept the minutes for the meeting held in October of 2024.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes for the meetings held in October 2024.
One second. And roll call, Mr. Suttles.
Yes.
Mr. Carrera.
Yes.
Mrs. Devitt. Yes. I'd like to ask a motion to accept the payment of the bills for the month of September, because I wasn't here, in the amount of $608,540.82.
And how many? 82. I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills for the month of September, in the amount of $608,540.82.
Second. And roll call, Mr. Carrera.
Yes.
Mrs. Devitt. Yes. Mr. Suttles.
Yes.
I'd also like to ask the trustees for a motion to accept the payment of the bills for the month of October in the amount of $302,217.41.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills in the month of October at the amount of $302,217.41.
And roll call. Mrs. Devitt? Yes. Mr. Suttles?
Yes.
Mr. Carrera?
Yes.
You okay?
Yes.
I'd like to ask the trustees for a motion to accept the financial statements that I gave you last month.
I'll make a motion to accept the financial statements dated the 15th.
I think it was 16.
16th.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and roll call, Mr. Suttles?
Yes.
Mr. Carrera?
Yes.
You want to wait? No, we wait a minute for this.
Okay.
That's good. We made a motion to accept the financial statements that were provided to us the 16th of October. We both voted affirmatively. We just wanted to give it a choice of vote. You're welcome.
I do not have any communications apparently, so.
You don't love us anymore. At this point, as listed on the agenda, we would accept questions from the public only on the agenda items. We will take questions at the end of toward the end of the meeting for general questions. At this time is for questions on the agenda. Hopefully you have a copy of it. If you don't, there's some on the end of the table there. So are there any questions on the agenda? Saying none, we'll move on to our police chief.
All right, for month of October, officers responded to 482 calls, wrote 73 reports, 1 crash report, and 72 incident reports. There were 39 arrests, 3 drug-related, 1 firearm, 2 theft, B&E, or burglary-related, 2 assault due to domestic violence or protection order violations, 1 for resisting, fleeing, or obstructing, and 6 for warrants. The officers issued 32 citations, 5 for driving under suspension or no operator license, 4 for miscellaneous equipment violations, 7 for miscellaneous moving violations, 4 for operating a vehicle intoxicated, 9 for speed, and 3 for seatbelt or child restraints. We had 2 burglary or B&Es reported, 7 assaults or domestic disturbances, 2 criminal trespass, 2 vandalism or criminal damaging, 7 thefts, 1 identity theft. We had 4 threats, menacing, or telephone harassment complaints, 2 drug overdoses, 9 disturbances or fights, 7 reports of suspicious activity, 4 suspicious persons, and 7 suspicious vehicles, 88 service calls. We had 19 traffic or parking complaints, assisted 20 disabled vehicles, motorists. We had 10 animal complaints, 20 alarm drops. Officers patrolled 13,579 miles and used 916.7 gallons of fuel. We had 37 hours of reimbursed overtime and 34 hours of regular overtime for a total of 71 hours of overtime. Now, I was going over the report. I was not here last month, and there was an error on last month's report. We reported 143 hours of total overtime when it was actually 86. So for last month, there was 22 hours of reimbursed overtime and 63.5 hours of regular overtime. So the numbers just added up, so quite a bit less.
Chairman, may I?
Yes.
Folks, you sit out here monthly and hearing it, however you hear it, and hear the 3 department heads give their rundowns. And I have it in front of me, so I think I can realize it more than you probably can sitting out there. We're a town of last census, probably about between 82 and 8,400 people. The amount of activity on each one of these, it just blows my mind in a town this size. We have a lot of activity, police, fire, and our roads. But if you ever want one of these reports, these are public record. At one time, we would have those here if you wanted them. But I think as you would really appreciate it much more of what our departments do if you saw it in black and white. So if you ever want to, and it's year to date too, on the police report especially, it shows what we did each month. You know, he just said we patrolled 13,579 miles. That's driving a lot around the 25 square mile town that we live in. I commend them on a regular basis, but sometimes when you say all those numbers, they all mix together. And I really appreciate what all our departments do. And the activity of the police department is always, just the mileage to me, has always astonished me that they drive that much. I appreciate it, Chief. Thank you.
Anything else, Chief?
No, that's it.
Any questions for the trustees? Thank you. Fire Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Frere. For the month of October, there were a total of 240 calls for service in the fire department. Of those, 198 were EMS, 7 structure fires, 12 motor vehicle crashes, 2 vehicle fires, 9 miscellaneous fires, 6 service calls, 2 reports of wires or trees down, 4 fire alarm investigations. Mutual aid into the township 26 times and out of the township 25 times, totaling 240 calls. We had a total of 307.5 hours of overtime. We used a total of 657.1 gallons of diesel and unleaded fuel. We completed our junior fire academy October 19th and 20th, and that was successful, putting almost 20 kids through it. We participated in-school education, safety night. We attempted pool patrol, but we were taken away from that for a brush fire, large brush fire, and numerous other community events. We participated in and hosted 2 students from Brookfield High School for the Trumbull County Civic Day. Station 51 was closed 50 out of a possible 62 shifts for the month. That's all I have for my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions from other trustees?
Have a comment again.
Please do.
Chief, he touched on the fact that we had a junior fire academy. He invited the trustees, the fire department did, to swear these cadets in as we do our career firefighters and part-time that we do on the big time, the real thing. And so we got to experience seeing these young people. This is the first time they've done this. It was on a Saturday, beautiful Saturday and Sunday weather. It was well attended. I was proud of our fire chief and our fire department on doing that and watching these young people, girls and boys, not just boys anymore, and their eyes lit up and they put them through obstacle course. They saw actual fire. They saw cars being extrication tools used. But it's a way to reach out to our community that might have a long-lasting effect on these young 3rd to 5th graders, where they might choose this as a career. And you see every month we're reaching and trying to find folks to work for us. So if we can plant that seed in those people, and our firemen think that's important, I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Good comments. Thank you, Jim. Anything else before we go on to our? No. Okay.
Okay, first on the motions, I'd like to get a motion from the trustees to allow me to purchase Genesis Rescue Systems E-Force battery-operated extrication tools to include cutters, spreaders, 55-inch ram, and a combi tool at a total cost of $64,995.
I'd like to make the motion. I'm going to do it as presented for the sake of my voice. The fire chief.
I'll second this for the, I'd like to second it so that we can have a discussion on it. So I'll second it.
Yeah. At this point, I'm going to ask to table that item, and I'll tell you why. If you look at the bottom, above public comment, we're going to have a motion to hopefully a resolution to create a fire capital account for purchase of a future fire truck. I was down at the station when they had the junior fire academy, and the chief was showing us some of the equipment. I'm not sure what truck it was, but the doors that actually have holes rusted through them. Ladder truck. The cost of, we're not sure what truck we're going to need down the road, was a ladder truck or emergency truck, but it's safe to say it's going to be well over $1 million, at least. And I think, referring to the item down later on the agenda, the more money that we can say we have on hand to buy a truck, I think we'll have more support from our community. I'm not against what you're asking, Chief, but the tools we have currently, you said, are in good shape, and they're meeting the need. And the money that we have allocated these two for this current item, the one below, came from the sale of 2 ambulances. I think I can talk about it because it's over. We have reserves of $10,000 on each one, and we've got $81,000, which is a wonderful, wonderful surprise. So part of me says, since that money came from vehicles, then would the right thing be put it in an account for new vehicles? So again, I'm not against what you're asking, I just think, speak more when we get down to new business resolution for the fire capital account, what my thoughts are then. So I'm relieved that we do have the current tools on hand, that you're suggesting to purchase new battery ones. But the ones we have on hand are working and they're, meeting the need. I hope we never need them. So I'm not against what you're asking, but I think to allocate that money right now is a little premature. I know you're up against a November 15th deadline. So as we go through this, if they want to have the other trustees vote, I'll make a suggestion to meet next week. I don't want to get ahead of myself about that fire fund, but I think we have a little bit of time. I commend you for running a very tight budget. I'm not against what you're asking, but I think until we have money put away for that $1 million+ purchase, I think I'm just speaking for myself, I think we need to do that. It's much like when you run your own home, your own household. You put money away, I know it's not easy, but I think in the long run, it will pay off.
If I could,
Sure.
I've looked at all the materials that was presented, which I appreciate. It gave us a lot. I understand where the money's come from. Well, our discussion has always been in the last, even before either one of these people were trustee on the other boards, is having some kind of vehicle replacement program. When we buy, even if we buy a police cruiser, it's $35,000 to $40,000. You buy a fire truck nowadays, it's going to be just a pumper truck. It's going to be in the neighborhood of $800,000. A ladder truck that, as it sits down there, between 1.3 and 1.6 million dollars. That's a lot of money. We've carried over in the last few years in the neighborhood of almost $1 million, 600, 800,000. Now, in township government, we need to have enough money for the first quarter of each one of those. So let's say that's around $300,000, rough figure. But if this program that Mark's going to bring up later, the fire capital account program, allows you to go for 10 years and put aside up to $1 million. And the last thing I want to do is to say, okay, let's take $100,000 out of that carryover and lock it in this fund. Because if we do that and we need that money somewhere else, I have a concern. So we have to be careful on how much are we going to allocate each year to be put in that fund. But as Mark said, to have an $80,000 that we got in from the sale of fire apparatus, I believe it was ambulance, to be able to maybe put that in a fund to start us off. The first year, we don't have to worry if we do this, maybe put 30 or 40,000 and see how we go. So I saw the rescue equipment, I read about it, I know that it's the state of the art, the price is going up. I'm wrestling with this as much as Trustee Ferreira is, so I share some of his same concerns.
I could try to talk. I'm okay, I understand the long-term goal. I think we need a truck sooner than later. And I appreciate wanting to put money aside. I think you can still do that. I don't know that we're gonna have the numbers right now to get that and say we should have X amount put aside. Chief has explained the need and for these tools, and I'm completely okay with going forward with it today. Just how fiscally responsible he is, he's gonna be able to do both. He presented a letter to us 2-ish months ago saying that he wanted to have a sit down with us. We haven't done that yet. And I still think he needs to operate as a department, so it's not fair to stop moving forward with things. So I'm okay with doing it, but I'm also okay with sitting down listening to for the resolution and move forward. So we should say.
Call for a vote. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Ferrera,
No.
Mrs. Devitt? Yes. And Mr. Suttles?
No. Second item, please.
Second item is allow the fire chief to purchase from Genesis Rescue Systems 2 18-inch battery-operated ventilation fans, and 3 Milwaukee rocket lights for scene illumination, for a total cost of $11,927.
That was coupled with the same money, right? The
Yes.
8,000? So they're trying to.
Yes, we still had, if I may, we still had a savings of $4,814 after the purchase if we were approved.
I'd like to try and make a motion to purchase the fire chief to purchase Genesis Rescue Systems, 2 18 battery operated ventilation fans and 3 Milwaukee rocket lights, $11,927.
Is there a second? Commissioner Dies, I have a second.
Moving on to our third item, Chief.
I'd like to motion to hire Mr. Jared Bradley as a full-time career firefighter paramedic at a rate of 85% of total salary and all other benefits as provided as per the current collective bargaining agreement. Hiring will be contingent upon the successful completion of physical outlined by the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Board, a candidate physical agility test, a thorough background investigation, and a 1-year probationary period.
Chief, he doesn't have a CPAT on the record now?
I have one scheduled for the 24th of this month.
I'll make a motion to hire Mr. Jared Bradley as a full-time career firefighter paramedic at a rate of 85% of the total salary and all other benefits as provided as per the current collective bargaining agreement.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
All right. Mrs. Devitt?
Yes.
Mr. Suddles?
Yes.
Mr. Pereira?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Anything else under the fire report?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Road superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to go over the report for October. Road Department had 789 regular hours worked, 19 hours overtime, and that was 19 hours on paving, 2024 paving program, and we had 2 hours overtime at the cemetery for a total of 21 hours. Total hours worked, 810. With that, we had 25 in administration, 225 in road projects. Again, that was, most of that was during the widening with Albright McKay prior to paving. I'll let that go. And then we had 45 hours routine maintenance, a lot of that was patching, pothole patching. De-icing pile, we had 10 hours, primarily just mixing. We did a little bit of mixing of some of the material we had there available. 45 hours maintenance, equipment maintenance and repairs. So we had a fuel truck tank we had to replace on unit number 2. 245 hours at the cemetery. We had 2 cremations and one burial. Shop time, we had 25 hours. Miscellaneous, we had 40 hours. Road information, 10 hours. Some of that was meeting about Wildwood Drive. We had 2025 paving program. We had discussions on that and some issue 1 items. Park, we had 140 hours. The road department consumed 109.2 gallons of gasoline, 394.3 gallons of diesel fuel. Cemetery used 86.6 gallons of gasoline, 27.6 gallons of diesel fuel. Park used 73.2 gallons of gasoline, 5.6 gallons of diesel fuel. Then I'm going to apologize to the residents because I sent my agenda to Tabitha, but I never attached my agenda. No, I have one, but it's not on the agenda for the public. So you guys have it because I give you guys, I send yours separate. Item 1 for road. Do you have any questions on the report?
I don't.
No, okay. Item 1 on the road items is just the overall status of the 2024 road program. I think we covered some of this last month. So we paid both the first invoices on the road program for the loan and the grant. We're supposed to, and I haven't had a call from the contractor, but we're supposed to finish the berm on Albright McCabe this week. And then that'll be it for the work for the 2024 program. Then next year, they'll finish those items they have left, which is Wildwood and the chip seal on Albright McCabe.
We have all the,
Manholes are all
manholes
done.
are done?
Yes,
On all the roads?
yes. Manholes are all done. The second item, Dan and I went to the last Ohio Public Works meeting over at Eastgate in Youngstown, and I think we're pretty confident that we've received both. But one is ours, and that's the 2000, and that's gonna be the 2020, if you look on a 20-year plan since we did the loan, we've moved up a couple of years. So what we're gonna be doing in 2025 is actually, is this thing's going in and out.
You see, I think you're back and forth. Go ahead.
Tina, thank you.
You can keep that.
Okay. So these roads that we're doing is part of the 2028 road program, which is Campbell Street, Beaumont, Cleveland, Nellie, Marianne, Upper Ohio, Nicholas. Those are the streets that are going to be on this upcoming year that we applied for a grant. So we received the grant. The total cost of that project was just under $600,000. We received our grant for $224,000. So our portion is going to be around $358,000.
So we were able to do that.
And pay the loan, yes.
Pay the loan payment.
Yeah, and then the second project, we didn't see directly, we received indirectly because Hartford Township applied for it. That was Kings Graves, which is scheduled for a 2-phase project. First phase is from Warner Road to Albright McCabe. Both phases are estimated at about $300,000. So we received the first phase. Our portion is going to be $75,000. Hartford's going to pay $75,000. Ohio Public Works is going to pay $150,000.
So the next year we'll do the same thing.
Next year we'll do the same thing. We have to, obviously, we have to apply now.
What's the chances if it was a 2-phase that you get 1 phase and not the second? Is there a chance?
Well, there's always a chance, but typically, if they gave you the first phase, they're going to give you the second phase.
And it's long overdue too, the roads.
Yeah.
Well, the bad thing, or bad or good, is Kingsgrave Road, when you go past, what is it, Warner, going west,
Yeah, it was just paid.
it's the county road. So they paved it all,
Yeah.
but this going east, we share it with Hartford, it's not a county road.
Yeah.
It's strange.
The next item is, I'd like to get a motion, I need to purchase 200 tons of number 9 anti-skid material. This is the aggregate, it's a limestone aggregate that we mix with the salt for our winter ice control material. It's coming from Allegheny Minerals.
What did you have left from last year?
Mix or, but typically mix, we still have some salt, we haven't paid for it at the county, it's about 100 ton, I think. In the barn, we've probably got probably 600 ton. So we've got enough, I think that we have enough to get us through this year.
You just jinxed yourself, you know?
Yeah.
What's the 600 ton of a mixture?
It's a mix,
It's a mix, so it's mixed with salt.
yes.
Will we have to go get more salt to start the year?
No, I think we're good to start the year, but I will get the anti-skid just in case, because if I need to get salt, I just have to run to the county and get it, right? And now that they have this outpost down here, a lot of times, if they're in the wintertime, they're there. So I can just go right down here about 7 and grab my salt.
Well, they're gonna store it at 7? I thought they stored it down.
They'll have it in both spots.
Sell it, please.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Good. All right.
then,
that motion.
yes, I mean, if we can get a motion, and that's an and the reason I call that,
Shannon's gonna try with us.
let me just, the reason I call that an estimated amount is because I have to call the day that we're getting it to see what the hauling charge is gonna be. Because it varies depending on the fuel costs. And the fuel prices go up and down every day, so.
So how do we give you a motion, we don't know the cost?
Well, it's an estimate, I mean, it's gonna be estimated, you won't, most of the stuff, it won't make a difference, because if you haul it, if I ask for 200 ton, I might get 195, or not
Well,
198.
but is the price per ton gonna be the same, or don't we know that?
I can't tell you until I call to order it, because the price of fuel changes. It's gonna be in that area, Dan, it's not, you know what I mean?
Right, it's just stuff
There's
to
nothing,
make a motion when it isn't exact unless.
You have that budget, correct?
yes,
Should we make it more than that?
no, well, it may be a little, it's not gonna be,
Yeah.
it'll be a little bit or a little bit less, a little more, a little less.
Is it not to exceed?
We make a motion to buy salt.
Yeah, without knowing the
Without knowing the
cost. Which we have to, because they don't have cost yet.
Yeah, it's gonna be in that neighborhood, it'll be around, so it's not gonna be off
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to purchase 200 ton of number 9. Winter ice control material from Allegheny Minerals, $30 a ton, $6,000.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Suttle,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrera,
Yes.
and Mrs. Devitt.
Yes.
Okay, and I apologize again, the last item, I think I did talk to Dan about it, is legislation for the grant project, certifying there's two legislations. One is Mark, you're gonna be the CEO, so you're the one that has to sign it. Yeah, same pay, just promoted. You'll be, any documents that we have for this grant, you'll have to sign. And then she'll have to sign it as a CFO.
You have some with you now?
Yeah, I do. The reason I put it on there, I didn't think I was gonna get it done, because I just got the paperwork from the county today. So I was able to get them typed and get them done for the
These are the
meeting.
projects you just talked about for next year?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, because the applications are due, we have, is the second, I thought it was the 20th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think it was December 20th.
In December, yeah.
But I figured I might as well get I have the paperwork getting done. So let me just tell,
This is your reading the motion?
I can't.
Yeah, you might as well.
Well, what really, one is just a certification, that doesn't have to be a motion. She signs and certifies that we have the money. I'm gonna do that for
Read
her,
your motion.
and then I can read the motion.
Please do.
Doesn't matter, it's not.
I don't think it matters. Okay, so this is called authorizing legislation. A resolution authorizing Mark Ferrer to prepare and submit an application to participate in Ohio Public Works Commission state capital improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs, and to execute contracts as required. Whereas the state capital improvement program and the local transportation improvement program both provide financial assistance to political subdivisions for capital improvements to public infrastructure, and whereas the Brookfield Township trustees are planning to make capital improvements to Beaumont Avenue, Campbell Street, Cleveland Street, etc., road improvements, and whereas the infrastructure improvement herein above described is a priority need for the community and is a qualified project under the Ohio Public Works programs. Now therefore be it resolved by the Brookfield Township, Section 1, Mark Ferrer, Brookfield Township trustee is hereby authorized to apply to the Ohio Public Works Commission for funds as described above. Section 2, Mark Ferrer, Brookfield Township trustee, is authorized to enter into any agreements as may be necessary and appropriate for obtaining this financial assistance. And then it has a date passes today, and then you have to sign it off.
That's the motion.
One of us have to make the motion.
Right, you could just say, as.
We'll make the motion as read.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrera,
Yes.
Mrs. Devitt, Mr. Suttle.
Yes, we can sign this now.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for my report.
All right, I'm at the cemetery and park.
Oh, cemetery, well, I don't have anything for the park. Cemetery, excuse me, I don't have anything for the cemetery. The park, all I just for the public's, knowledge, the bathrooms are gonna get closed the 13th of this month, November. So, gotta go to the bathroom, go there for the 13th.
The water be shut off
Yes,
and the AED put away.
yes, we'll take the AD well. Yeah, I think we brought it back and put it inside our building last year.
Yeah, I think it should be switched more. The battery will drain if not.
Thank you, that's.
Now you're done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, code enforcement.
Our code enforcement report is as follows. Permits were issued at 7264 Warren Sharon Road for a roof recover, 617 Warner Road, accessory garage, masonry foundation, 547 Warner Road, siding replacement, 888 Albright McKay Road, siding replacement, 563 Brookfield Avenue, fire alarm, full system at O'Brien Memorial Healthcare Center. Newer complaints, 7782 Locust Street, carpet and debris in the front yard has been removed. 7877 South Street, inoperable vehicles. 7880 South Street, inoperable vehicles. Corner of Brookfield Avenue and Lorraine Street, small barn and fence, agricultural use. 1470 Caller Price, different types of vehicles, equipment being stored. Construction of pond on Amy Boyle Road, Trumbull Soil and Water is monitoring. 800 block of Boyd Street, owner has been working on cleaning up brush from the front yard. 600 block of South State Line Road, furniture has been removed from side yard. I have an address assignment from the Clear Channel Tower at 7088B McMullen Street. That is all.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Dan. I'll give the van report. For the month of October, $69 was collected, and a total of 254 miles were driven by Yes, Pinshot, and Truax, for a total of 22 3/4 hours. So thank you. We have one of the drivers here, right? Thank you. Anyone else interested, please raise your hand. Those that don't raise it, we call them on. But thank you. That's a lot of hours, and that's a service that greatly needs. So thank you very much. Okay. We're on old business. Under old business, I'd like to welcome back you see my family, Bill Flynn and Corey Bikenish. And I'm going to give a general review, and I'll ask these two gentlemen to speak. We've been looking at proposed disc golf for some time. This was first presented back, I believe, in January or February. It started out 18 holes, and as we still getting back, and wasn't really, our park isn't really set up for 18 holes. 9 holes is a better fit. And I'm going to go back and Corey can talk about the layout on the street. Thank you, Shannon, and whoever else helped you. Our police chief helped with that. Oh, thank you, Cameron. You'll see the layout. There's some question on the cross-firing of the holes with other functions going on at the park. So we're going to talk about that with the two local, I know they don't like to refer to as experts, but very knowledgeable guests. I did check with our insurance carrier, and we would have coverage at the park. It's not uncommon, but safety was stressed, and overall safety. And again, these gentlemen know much more about the sport or the activity than I do. I just want to make sure as we move along with this, we're still gathering information on, as you can see here, a good part of it would be in the wooded part of the park. And think about how that is cleared. There's different ways of getting that done. But what I want to do is make sure that if anyone has safety issues, that we can allow these two gentlemen to know much more about it. And I know they're very humble. I think 2 meetings ago, I introduced Bill as being on the Hall of Fame, which I didn't know was such a group. But you guys can flip a coin, and we'll have general questions for the board. I want them to be very comfortable as this moves on with any safety factors that might exist. And is there 100% safety? There isn't in anything. Softball games there or baseball, but I want to know that we are considering that as a high priority as this process continues. So, Corey, I know you play, you're a resident of Brookfield. And I know, Bill, you're pretty humble about your years and knowledge of the game. So you just want to like generalize like the safety components, and you know, the board may have other questions, but like I said, I believe in relying on the experts who know much more about it than I do. So, not to put you on the spot, but thank you again for coming and giving time in your schedule. So, Bill or Corey, want to start out some of the things that we're concerned and that we should be focusing on as we move forward.
Okay, just to start
You
out.
can come up here if you want to make a point at anything. You can be the point.
I'll be the point.
Yeah, I'm lazy.
We have a pencil.
And it's a C, not a K.
That was a
It's
slow
still
test.
on the cast. No problem. It happens a lot.
Yes.
I-
Negative space.
It happens way too many times. Okay, so it's very normal.
Okay, as Mark introduced me, one thing component I didn't mention, I'm very interested in disc golf, but I didn't tell you guys, I was the Trumbull County Metro Park chairman for 8 years too. So I also understand the rest of it, you know, as far as the safety and all that. In fact, when we first got involved, as Mark mentioned, it was 18 holes. I'm like, there's no way, it's not gonna be viable, safe to put in 18 holes. And yeah, that drove a lot of the changes. Second thing I want to point out is this drawing is very general. It's hard to draw. Those baskets would be that I drew would be like 35 feet tall if you look at the picture, but the lines are a little bit off. So it does look a little bit more like it's encroaching into the field, but it does, particularly hole 8, does come across that field. But if you look at the field area, is like 450 feet wide by 250. And even if there was a lined peewee field, that would only be, I think, 280 by 130 feet. So it's about 60% of that space. So it's significantly smaller. There are things we can do for precautions to add. Signage. There's disc golf actually has a document that is made in a way that looks like something you composed. It shows about safety in general. You know, they watch for other people. But as Mark stated, anytime you have more than one recreational item, or even the same one, people playing softball, your car gets hit. Someone's walking their dog, somebody gets bit. There's just the interaction of a single sport, let alone other things. Or even out there, people walking. You're going to clear out the fairways. And it's going to make a great place for people to walk. Disc golfers, I can only tell you from my experience, are conscientious about that. But I guess that's just a little bit of background on that. But safety was a big consideration on this. I don't know if there's questions or.
To be quite honest with you, one of my concerns, and I discussed it with Mark in our department head meeting whenever this was proposed, we've had so many meetings in between you guys. It appears to the naked eye that that's consuming more of the open park than I'm comfortable with. The one you pointed out, I don't know the other one, which is go down to the yellow, that one.
Full mountain.
Yeah, I mean, that's right in the outside the parking area, pavilion area where if we're having any other kind of activity there. The other one, it kind of cuts the corner, it's yellow, and then the red one cuts the corner. There's like 3 or 4 holes there that go into that open area. That I have a concern. I don't know, like you said, it's probably not to scale. But for me, looking at it, I had the same drawing that Mark provided. Those were my concerns. I want to make our park something more than a baseball park. But what I don't want to do is that the participants we have now there, I don't want them to feel like they're pushed aside for us to do something else. So there's a fine line there. I want to make sure, I think it's a great idea. I've learned a lot about what it is. But my concerns are, we have very limited acreage really for the park to do a lot of things with. I have some concerns with some of the infringement on the rest of the park.
Yeah, I don't, as far as playing in the one does cross over more than anything else. I think it's the hole number 3. There's actually a ditch.
Yeah, there's a ditch that runs right along here back to the woods. It's kind of like a steeper incline, so we were trying to keep it to the left of that ditch a little bit. That way it wasn't going into the main field, so.
Now that one does cut across, but not to the extent that it shows, but it does cut across the field area. Now, the last hole, 9, does go through that wooded area, but I was of the assumption that was low, that whole area was very low usage.
Well, yeah, let's refer to Jamie. He may know better than all of us, or police chief. I know that the Pee Wee mini football use that field. Who else, Jamie, uses that a lot on a regular basis?
No, it's them.
Then they have parking and that. I mean, a couple, we do our Easter egg hunt there.
Right.
Last year.
So,
but that was one.
Right, so to their point, other than somebody walking, when would that be a conflict as far as other groups using?
Well, the football, when are they, August or?
June, July.
That's the only.
I believe.
August.
They just finished.
Yeah, they just finished.
Yeah.
So July, August, September.
And I don't know what days they're there.
Yeah, they were there mostly Saturdays, Sundays, I believe, during the summer, but I don't know.
So that's the biggest regular group that would conflict with that.
Down there, yeah.
Yeah, there's nobody else that,
But the,
other than dog walkers, once in a while back.
Yeah.
my fear was that we have a packed park and then everybody comes down to go do this and there's nowhere. I mean, you've probably been down there, everything's jamming.
Yep.
I was trying to figure out, like, if you guys did, I think you said this layout would be a bit like you could do tournaments and stuff with this.
Mhm.
Maybe have it from when the park's not used.
Well, we can have them contact you guys
Okay.
to maybe schedule
Yeah.
a day, that way it's not interfering with other events.
Just because we can't handle what we have down there now.
Correct.
I was just worried about compounding it with something major going on down there. I had the same fears kind of Dan has. Mine was, I said before, I think we have a pavilion. I'm waiting to hear back from the DNR. The next couple weeks, we have probably a new pavilion going in over here. And then the existing one down there. But yeah, the encroachment on that back field, it's not used all the time, but when it is used, I figured there would be some decor, like they obviously wouldn't be playing when the kids are down there.
So we thought of a thing where maybe we can close off the field when events are going on and actually send them back into the woods. That way they're staying back in the woods.
Yeah.
That way.
How would you do that?
So there's disc golf, we have a Northeast Ohio disc golf page on disc golf, on Facebook. And there's probably around 3,000 to 3,200 people on that page, and they're posting daily about closures, accidents, baskets being damaged from trees falling, bees in the ground, stuff like that. So we could post it on there and get it out to the public. That way, if they can be not come to the park if they don't want to, just because of that reason. So
That reaches quite a few. The percentage of the people you think that would be using this?
oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
Especially if local, like we put it out, we know the schedule. Hopefully, we will know the schedule of the Little Warriors and baseball and stuff, so we can put that ahead of time. But yeah, just to have everybody down there, just make sure everybody's moved.
And I would make a Facebook page just for this course,
Okay.
and people would join that, and we get updates and everything about it too. So
There's one in, excuse me, I think.
No, you're okay.
In Struthers that has a baseball, has a field for women's, girls, the middle school, I think, and high school. And when you get to hole 7, they're usually out there warming up when they're playing. And basically they close 7, 8, 9, just because it's too hard to get around there. And it's really not a problem. But that's the only one I know of like that. I guess I want to make the point that we're emphasis on safety. There are courses that are put in that I would not approve of, but that's not something where we want to be. Corey mentioned that if they're having a league or a tournament or something, there would be density, not just like a group of guys that come through one time and they skip a hole because they're playing ball or whatever. That make a point, like you said, through Facebook, that it has to be scheduled. You can't have a tournament, you can't have a league unless you contact whoever you guys think is appropriate.
Yeah, we do that for anything in a park, even baseball tournaments. It's all scheduled through our office.
But we can make that clear in the signage, say, hey, you have to schedule it, and here's the number.
Again, I hate to use this too lightly, but common sense would dictate, maybe sometimes common sense isn't so common, but whenever you have people, you're gonna have courtesy, and people, would hopefully, as you said, skip a hole, go inside if there's an activity, or not play that day. It bases on communication, I would agree. Because right now, I think it's a great use for our money. Right now, I would think that would.
We carve some money off your request then, is that what you're saying?
A minimal. That will be discussed later. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Is there any questions you have? Just for my fellow trustees, I'm in the process of putting together an RFP because whoever actually does the work has to have all the verifiable insurances and safeguards in place to protect themselves, the district, and the township. Sorry, not district. Yeah. Apologize. So we're going to have something hopefully end of this month or our December meeting that we'll share at that time. Again, thank you. It's nice that we have a Brookfield resident that's interested. And again, to Jamie's point a few minutes ago, it's not something to be burdensome for the park staff, and your willingness to help. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming to our meeting. So if you just want to come, you don't have to make a presentation. Welcome also.
But I won't guarantee that.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, that's it for old business. Okay. New business. I apologize, but it's quite lengthy. I'm going to create a resolution to create a fire capital account to purchase a new fire truck in the future. Again, it's a page and a half. I apologize for being so lengthy. But just a little bit of background. We've been talking about this for a while. I know it's not easy, but I think as a trustee, I think I owe it to all 8,300 plus or minus residents of Brookfield to sock away as much money as we can. It isn't a negative impact on our day-to-day needs for the fire and emergency department budgets. So that's what's behind this. A little bit of work on it. I started with our local auditor, and much to my surprise, they had a few answers, but not all the answers. And they directed me to the state auditor, which also had some answers, but it was like, well, we don't know. And, so they then directed me to our legal counsel for the township, who was very, very helpful. And she explained some things and gave us a variety of documents to substantiate the motion that's going to be presented in a few minutes. So I want my trustee department to know that this is a lot of research and it can be done. And I think we've talked about this for some time, and I think now is the time to do it. So having said all that, I'm going to read a resolution. I apologize, it's a page and a half long, so I thought yours was long, Jamie, and this is as long. So
Do you want Jamie to read this?
yes, but you have a bad voice, maybe you could do it shorter. She said, yeah, but I'm sorry. All right, whereas the Ohio Revised Code 5705.13C permits political subdivisions to establish via resolution a capital projects fund for the purpose of accumulating resources for the acquisition of fixed assets of the subdivision, including motor vehicles. This is very wordy, so I apologize. And whereas the ordinance or resolution shall identify the source of the money to be used to acquire, construct, or improve the fixed assets identified in resolution or ordinance, the amount of money to be accumulated for that purpose, the period of time over which the amount is to be accumulated, and the fixed asset that the taxing authority intends to acquire, construct, or improve with the money to be accumulated in the fund. And whereas the Brookfield Township Board of Trustees finds it to be in the best interest of the township to establish an account in the fire fund for the purpose of accumulating funds for the acquisition of fire department vehicles, including fire truck, ambulance, or other emergency vehicle for use by the fire department. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Brookfield Township Board of Trustees, Trumbull County, Ohio, hereby establish a fire capital account as follows. Section 1, creation of a fire capital account. Board of Trustees of Brookfield Township hereby establishes the fire capital account as follows. There are a number of items. Number 1, name of the fund shall be fire capital account and is hereby established the fire fund. The fiscal officer shall take such steps as to required by law to create the fire capital account. Number 2, the purpose of the fire capital account shall be to accumulate resources for the future acquisition of fire department vehicles, including fire truck, ambulance, or other emergency vehicles for use by the fire department. Number 3, the trustees may from time to time transfer funds to the fire capital account from the following funds. A, Fire Fund 2111. B, the General Fund 1000. C, the Ambulance Emergency Medical Services Fund 2281. Item 4, the maximum amount of money reserved by the fire capital account shall be $1 million. Item 5, fixed assets to be acquired shall be fire department motor vehicles, including a fire truck, ambulance, or other emergency vehicle used by the fire department. Item 6, the fire capital account shall exist for a period not to exceed 10 years. If the township does not enter into a contract to expend the money in the fire capital account to acquire a fire department vehicle or vehicles before the 10-year period is over, the fiscal officer shall transfer the money in the fire capital account to the funds from which the money originally was transferred.
Would you read that again? This is on a 10-year thing.
Yeah.
This has to be, go, read
Yeah,
that.
this is item 6. The fire capital account shall exist for a period not to exceed 10 years. If the township does not enter into a contract to expend the money in the fire capital account to acquire a fire department vehicle or vehicles before the 10-year period is over, the fiscal officer shall transfer the money in the fire capital account to the fund from which the money originally was transferred.
Okay, I understood that. I thought it said something else, but go ahead.
Okay. Section 2, transfer funds to the fire capital account. The Board of Trustees hereby approves the transfer of, and this is what we'll have to do later, I don't have a number to put in there. I'll read it and I'll come back and explain it. So at some point, we have to say how much money and from what fund it's going to be transferred from.
Does that have to be consistent, or can that be?
No, it can change. We need to identify that for the meeting we'll have next week, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then section 3, compliance with the sunshine law. It's hereby certified that all formal actions by the Board of Trustees relating to the adoption of this resolution were taken in an open meeting of the board, and that all deliberations of the board were in meetings open to the public, compliant with all legal requirements, including sections 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. And the last one, item 4, effective date. The resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period allowed by law. Sorry, that was.
Are you making a motion on that?
Yes, I'm making a motion on that.
Can you make the motion though without a
Yes.
monetary amount?
We can, because we could put 0 at this point and meet next week and put a number in.
That's why I asked this.
Yes, I want to get this on the books. As I said, we've been talking about this for some time. I know it's not easy to do, but I think in good faith, we can show our constituents the X number of dollars in that account. If and when we go to them for a levy or additional funding, I feel much more at ease made an honest attempt to start saving money so that the levy would be as minimal as possible. So that's my resolution. I apologize, it was very lengthy, it was a little longer than yours, James. It was wordy, it's all legalese, but, that's my motion.
So if we're transferring money from $0 from the what fund?
That'll be determined at our next meeting. I'm not comfortable right now. I'm gonna rely on, yes, I'm gonna rely on Chief and Dina to me. We'll talk about that, but I'm gonna rely on those two to say,
I think you should make a motion in a second so we can discuss it.
Okay.
okay, thank you, Dina. Is there a second?
No, I didn't make a motion.
Oh, I made a motion.
You made a motion? I'll second the motion for discussion.
Discussion purposes.
All right. So, what I had a question to two of you. First, to the fiscal officer.
Yeah.
You okay with all this? And do you know the laws that being referred to in there that you're supposed to adhere to?
Well, as far as creating the account, I do have a couple of questions, but those can be answered probably by the auditor.
Okay. Are you comfortable with this? And if you're not,
Personally,
share with us why.
Personally, I have issues only because I hate to limit the amount that's in the fund. I mean,
Well, that was my question is, what last thing we want to do is, and I want to talk to the chief next, is let's say we have a hypothetical after we've put money forward to cover the first 3 months of the year or 4 months of the year, we have $100,000. Well, I don't want to put that $100,000 in there unless you're absolutely sure that isn't going to handcuff you then and say, okay, I don't have enough money. I don't want to do that for everyday operation. So in that case, do we do 50? And can we do 50 later in the year?
Yes, you can do it as often as you want in any increments.
That was just a hypothetical, but
it just has to be a resolution by you guys every
Right,
time.
yeah, we could put away
The only-
$1,000 every month, and there's no restriction.
But it limits what you can use it on. I mean, it is totally restricted once it goes into that fund, so.
that's what we have to be cautious doing. I think it's a great idea. You've talked about this since you've been the chief. You and I have talked about it, on finding some way to save money for these major purchase. And like I said, this all goes back to the letters we've had in discussion about putting levies on. If indeed we do this and we still need money, I would feel comfortable as a trustee, maybe asking the public and saying, listen, we've done everything we can to use our existing money to fund this purchase.
Well, I've got a few concerns with this. First off is, we can't predict the future. And if we get $800,000-900,000 saved up in this over an 8 to 10 year period, and we have to lay somebody off, how do we look that person in the face?
Why would we have to do that?
I'm just saying, we can't predict the future. We can't touch this money except for the purchase of a truck, period. That's it.
That's why we don't put in, you don't go right to the edge with this money and say, okay,
Right,
again,
let's say, we have a good 8 years, but our 9th year isn't good. And we get to that point where, we have money in reserve we can't do anything with. I don't know how else you would do this, because we've tried to do this over a 6 year period.
The way I read it, and again, I'm not an attorney, so I would, this is preface this, we might need legal advice, but what I'm told, and I read it, you would dissolve the account and let it go back to the accounts of income.
I don't think you can do that.
Yes, you can.
it said that according to his.
The last part.
It says if we don't enter into a contract in that 10 year period.
Yeah, you don't enter the contract to buy a truck.
But I think they can, if it came down to it, they can, by resolution, probably resolve it also.
Yeah, and
They
to
create it, they can.
your point, it's a very good point, but I would hope we would know well before the 9th year that we're in that predicament. That's a good point.
Right.
I
Another
just,
concern is, well, I have a couple. First off is, we need a truck now. We're beating the wheels off of our 3,000 gallon fire truck, and because we don't want to beat the wheels off of our holy ladder truck. And we need a fire truck now to replace the two that we lost.
We don't have enough money for it now unless we've got a loan, to do that. So, that doesn't,
I've been given advice from our mechanic that we're looking at less than 5 years of life left in the ladder truck because of the rust on the frame.
this is a way to partially address what you're saying.
Sure.
Without going out for a tax increase.
My other concern is what you did earlier in the meeting, and I mean, it's completely up to you, but, and I understand wants versus needs, but we have to run a fire department throughout all of this. So when we do have needs within the department, such as rescue tools or, you know, trying to make compact our equipment so it'll fit on the new truck, or make our equipment so it's usable when we only have 2 people on duty.
But the way I see it is needs and wants. It's want more than a need. You've been doing that. It has really, it's, what did you say, 8 years old. You could get a lot more life out of it, and we're operating that way.
Sure.
What now?
What about future costs? What about SCBA's? What about turnover?
Those things we look at
Things that we need to purchase that, you know, will be coming up. I'm all for putting money aside for a truck. I've been here 6 years, and you and I have been on that for 6 years, asking for it, and we're finally to that point, and I'm for it. But I'm just concerned that we have additional costs within the department that we may or may not be able to forecast.
We're carrying over.
We are.
Almost $1 million every year. It's hard to tell these people we need more money when we're carrying over $1 million a year. I mean, so I think we can take care of those needs and wants. I think with this $80,000 from the sale that you had no idea you were gonna get this year, that's good, like seed money to get us started, to put it in there, in my opinion. And that's when you brought that up, I thought it fit perfectly into this.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, but I'm saying it's necessary, because, you know, I think no one wants to levy, and I listen to talk radio for whatever it's worth, and there's neighboring communities that are poo-pooing a levy, but I think if one levy is proposed, we can tell our taxpayer, as I said earlier in the meeting, we've got 25% of that money already in hand. I would hope they would support it much more fully than saying, well, we have nothing, we had a chance for 6 or whatever years, and we haven't saved a red cent. Shame on us. Again, I'm not saying it's easy, please. It was very hard for me to say I don't support that, because you guys do a wonderful job. I hope you never need those tools. You might get a call tonight where you need them. Thank God we have some use. But it's like this. So, I mean, I'm not saying to take all of that money. I'm saying to take, if we never start, we'll never get there.
So hard to say.
If you never start, just think if you did it 6 years ago. If you put $50,000 a year, 6 years, we'd have 300 grand in the bank.
Right.
And that's my point. Not to poo-poo you, not to say, you know, hey, I don't want your job. I'm not trying to tell you how to run, please. Don't interpret that. But I think our job as trustees is to be fiscally prudent as much as we can to say, hey, take a little here, and that's my point. I'm not ridiculing you or saying that's not it at all. If we don't get started, we'll never do it. That's it. I'm not saying to start with hundreds and hundreds of thousands, but if we start with 50, 60, 80, whatever, do that every year, before you know it, we'll have half the money.
The other question I had is, did you have to list the general fund as being one of those?
Yes, money can come from the general fund.
Because that's the last one.
It doesn't have to, but it can be.
Okay. I thought you had to have those 3 funds.
No, those are all sources of revenue to put into this fund.
So my only question is, how do our other departments, how do you guys function and save for vehicles right now?
Well, first of all, they don't have money near expensive as what the fire truck would
I'm
be.
not saying that, just how do you work with Dino on putting money away for vehicles?
We budgeted.
Yeah, well, when you buy a police cruiser at 40,000, that's.
I'm not saying that, I'm just asking, is there a line item that you create?
We have equipment, we have an equipment fund item, but typically, like if we buy a truck, it's typically we get a loan. If the auditor's not real crazy about, they don't allow you to save money. If you get
Well, no,
a
we
loan,
can, yeah, just.
Well, we
discuss
can't,
it.
yeah, if you do that, but I've never heard of that. Is that an interest
Is it what?
or an interest?
Yes, it does.
I hope,
With this fund?
Yeah,
Well,
you'd earn interest, absolutely.
yeah,
Why wouldn't
you're not allowed to earn interest in any other fund other than the general fund.
Well, I mean, they didn't, yeah, that's a good question, but I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, if you, just for the sake of discussion, take that 100,000, put it in CD, yeah, someone's gonna get that interest.
yeah, but like she said, it has to go into a certain fund.
There's 3 funds that.
I'll ask you.
Well, even if it doesn't gain interest, it's not gaining interest now. It's sitting in your account, it's not gaining interest now, so it would be great to gain interest. I don't think that's what I'm getting at. I'm getting at the
Shannon's question is, typically, what I try to do is forecast, so I know what to spend. So I try to hold over a little money in preceding years and build up the equipment fund a little bit, so I have some money. But typically, the trucks cost 200 grand now, it used to be, and it wasn't that long ago, they were 100 grand.
The fire chief has a disadvantage,
Yeah, he's got
4 or 5 times as much.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and it was short term, but each one of your department, I don't think the police, I'm not sure, we used ARPA money, we used ARPA partial for both of you. So those funds aren't gonna, those are one-time monies, so those aren't gonna be there.
Good discussion.
So today is just opening up the opportunity to move forward with this, and then we will.
No, we have a motion, and we're
Yeah,
going to
this,
resolution.
that's what you mean, and then we will
Make this
sit down, right,
Yeah.
and then we'll sit down and figure out what we can put in it and not.
Right, once this is passed, then I'll have a suggestion for the next meeting within the next week or 10 days, so we can do both things, we can research. We'll say how much money comfortably does the fire chief and Dean collectively say we have from that carryover to commit to this fund, whether it's $10 or 50,000 or 80,000 or whatever.
Where was your intent to use the 80,000?
I would like, well,
I think that's.
my intent is to hear how much is available with that amount. Yeah, it's like,
That wasn't even thought in at the beginning of the budget year, so that's money we didn't even anticipate or have to where we were gonna spend it. I mean, this would, to me, would be the prime to take that money and put in there, because then we're not taking anything out of the budget.
we might be able to do both.
Is that restricted to fire apparatus?
Yeah. Fire
There's
and,
nothing we
fire
can-
and or ambulance.
Just read.
Yeah, restricted.
So there's nothing for road.
Sorry.
That's
That's another meeting.
I would love to have a fund like that, so that I could.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I could ask, but maybe not. So that was the resolution for the first, second. Is there any more discussion?
Thank you for figuring all this out.
Well, that helped.
Yeah.
Roll call, please. Wait, did you get the motion earlier, pretty much? You understand it? I'll give you copies of this.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Just want to make sure it was quite worrisome. All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Devitt? Yes. Mr. Suddles?
Yes.
Mr. Pereira?
Yes, thank you. Okay, before we go on, any, at this point, public comments that weren't on the agenda?
Yeah,
Yes.
just a positive thing, just to say thank you. I live on South Albright McKay. South Albright McKay, there's a 1-lane bridge sits underneath the highway. And it's kind of a tight turn, and a lot of times there's brush and growth that grows up on the west side. And it makes it very difficult to see across the bridge for oncoming traffic. So about a month and a half ago or something, I almost had a head-on collision with neither party speeding. I just couldn't see someone coming across the bridge, so I go out like I'm gonna cross it, and fortunately I was able to get back over. So after that point, I reached out to Shannon to say, hey, this was kind of unsafe, can we do something about this? Not too long after that, she talked to Jamie, kind of told me, well, it's a county road, which, she could have said, it's county road, here, call this number, and I've been fine with that, it's a solution to a problem. Nope, we'll take care of it. A week later, it's completely clear, safe. So it's just nice to know, as a single person in the township, you still have a voice in your community, and I just really appreciated that. So thank you to all those involved.
Thank you for bringing it up.
It's nice to hear that, thank you. It's always the stories that people join, taking time to share that with us. Okay, all right, no additional comments from the public?
Yeah, Mark.
Yes.
Chief Maravich, on your fire trip, how many days is Station 51 out of a month closed?
This one, it was closed 50 out of 62 shifts, so there's 2 shifts in each day, 2 12-hour shifts.
So it was like 10 days out of 30.
Yeah,
Getting roundabout. And what's 18? 30, 20 out of 30 then?
18 was open, 31 out of 31 days.
And you guys want to buy a fire truck. You need personnel to operate these equipment, your new equipment. And it sounds like 51 wants to go out of business after all the years that the downtown Mashpee people put that in there. And every month, it seems like that, 10 to 15, 10 days out of 30, it's closed.
That's because anymore, most days, we only have 2 people, maybe
I
3.
understand that. My question is, what's more, we gotta have minutes or seconds to save lives? True?
Yep.
Okay, I mean, we need to get more personnel, at least get 51 up, at least half, 50% of the month for everybody's sake.
The only problem is there's nobody to work.
Correct, I understand that. I know it's a hard thing.
I mean, we're
These guys
pounding
want
the
to
pavement
put-
looking for people every day.
80,000 to an account, which is okay, but you're gonna put the cart before the horse. You also take so much of that money, try to get people to work for everybody in the county, for the township, for the fire department, the police department. You know, we need people to work. I know it's hard to find people today because the cost doesn't move for people. So, you know, everybody wants a levy to get stuff. I know we need equipment. We all know that's been around for ages. But we need personnel to help with equipment.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so hopefully we can get people to come to work for us and firefighting EMTs. We need those people because they're valuable. Because you never know when you need somebody.
That's right.
I hope everybody, you know, be great to do that.
All right, good comments, thank you. Any additional comments? Okay. Moving on the agenda, the trustee comments of the meeting, I will combine, I'll start off and then fellow trustees. What I'd like to do, as I alluded to earlier, check your schedules. I know it was dated, but the 15th or 16th, if we're going to have this motion for the tools. I'd like a meeting before that, and the meeting I would like to ask Dina and the fire chief to do a projection on what they need for November and December from the money, from the budget. And then looking ahead from, January 1 until you get the next tax allotment, how much money from the current one you have on hand is needed, as best as you can project, to see what the, I don't call it excess money, but what the balance is at that point that we could earmark for this new fund. And I'm not sure that take a day to get. I mean, you have all those numbers at hand. Could you have that by?
I don't think that'll take a little longer, will it? More than just a day?
Yeah, I'm not saying a day, but could, with your two schedules, I know the payroll.
I'm under the understanding that the $81,736 that we gained from gov deals would be the seed money going in next year. Is that correct?
That was a thought.
That was a thought, yeah. But I think, as Dan said, he used the term of $1 million. I'm not sure that's accurate.
What's that?
As a carryover.
Well,
I know
it's
some of
in the
that's,
neighborhood. It's
number that
It was
is
between,
committed.
I think we were over $1 million last year.
Yeah, to January 1st.
Right.
But 900,000, 800,000 the last consecutive 3 years.
Right.
We've been in that
So
neighborhood.
I guess if I could rephrase it, from the carryover, what would be available to earmark to this fund? I know for November, December, you have payroll and you have fixed costs that are already obligated. So,
Right.
and again, this number is just for explanation. Say for the next 2 months you need 400,000, and you have $1 million. So now you're down to 600,000.
Right.
And then from January till when you get to the next allotment, March, you need how much of that 600,000 to carry over. So again, I don't know what that number is, but we can, with with the history of what we spend and what we know we have to spend, you can come up with, I would think, a round number close to something. That's all I'm asking for. So what I'm doing is try to have the best of both worlds. Okay, we know we have 81,000 we could use. We also know whatever that number may have another 80,000 out there. So can we do both? I guess is my question. And I don't know that answer. How long would it take the two of you to come up with that? A week?
I'm gonna be off Thursday and Friday.
Of this
Off
week?
Monday, because of the holiday.
So is Wednesday of next week, a week, is that reasonable?
What date is Wednesday?
Instead of the 13th, because I was gonna ask for.
13th. So is it reasonable to ask for our fire chief and fiscal officer to work together based on parameters that, again, that's my simple logic, and whether it's feasible and see, you know, what that number is. Is it 300,000 we have available based on what isn't committed for the next 6 months?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
You know, I've got some questions that come about that'll be for Dina though.
Okay, so, yeah. Well, you two can work together based on what you're available. And then we also have a discussion with the ARPA money too. We need to be on that. And you have those quotes yet? Are you getting in there?
If he doesn't have them in the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna say we go to another project.
Well, this could be a project. Tools. Could be, let's say it could be. All right, so my request is, Wednesday the 13th of November. What time would this convene? Is it 1 o'clock? How much time do you need for your meeting?
Well, Baz would like to meet, a phone call, meet with us. And he gave us the two proposed dates was the 13th or the 14th. We could do it different days if you want.
What time? And
I
how
think it
long?
was just afternoon on the 13th or Thursday in the morning.
Okay, how much time does it need? Half hour?
Whatever we need.
How is 1 o'clock on the 13th?
Works for me.
We'll do the Bassett one. That's a phone call.
Yeah,
Or is he coming in?
it's a phone call as of now.
Okay, and then at 1:30, we'll just say at the conclusion of the VASA conference, we'll move into, again, these are voting meetings to establish a monetary figure as best as possible for the
So
new.
you're gonna come up with this figure. Is it good for next year? What is this figure?
Yeah, that would rely on Dina and.
But that's gonna be the one-time payment for a year or?
Yeah.
We could
Well,
put,
we can put it every month, you're not limited once a year. You could contribute to that fund whenever you have additional money, there's
just
no
the goal would
restriction.
be to figure out how much we pay
And,
there. And possibly put some.
yes, I know it's a lot,
No,
but I think with, I would hope they can come in within a reasonable $100,000. We need this amount of money until the end of March to pay all of our bills. And then this number is above that number.
We'll do it for me.
Okay.
So 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock on Wednesday the 13th.
we'll start with that.
All right, Dan, anything, comments or me?
Let Shannon go first.
Shannon?
The update for the ODNR grant that we submitted, that said it should be at the beginning of November, it's the beginning of November, so I'm clicking, checking my email constantly to see if we got anything. I will update everyone as soon as we can. I already hit on the VASA meeting next week. I'll have information, I'll email it to both of you prior to some of the things that we're looking at. On a fun note, Amanda and I, and Sabrina from the school are kind of working together this year on Jingle Mingle. We're gonna bring it back. I did a Facebook post, and we'll put it in the paper. December 14th at 6:30, it will be at the gazebo this year. We're working on some fun stuff together with fire department, police and library and the school, so, positive evening.
Good. Hot chocolate?
Hot chocolate, cookies.
We'll miss that one there. Yeah.
Yes, I just want to bring up that we had voted at a meeting that we had on ARPA funds. One of the things we're going to do is get a branded app for Brookfield Township through GoGov. We're going to have 2 meetings in November. One was the 21st, one was the 27th. We're probably going to kick off this new app at our next township meeting in December. And it's going to be very, I discussed it a little bit. It's a branded app that will be for Brookfield Township. We're going to try to have it taught to schools, maybe link the school into it, so that as a resident, you could have it on your phone and you could have it do anything you really want to. You can access information that we'll provide for you on it. It also can be used if you want to provide your cell phone number to have a text sent for weather emergencies, whatever. If we're going to close a road, it's a notification system where it's a citizen's notification and alerts, where it'll send those out to you as a citizen, so you'll know right away. Our department heads are going to be part of the program of being able to plug into this app. I think it's another level of communication with the public. It ties into our website, it ties into our social media pages. We'll link each department in. If the fire department has a fire that's blocking an area down in Majory, they can put something on right away so citizens stay away from that area. Jamie with the snow emergency. So it's going to take a little bit of work on our part, but you'll be able to either use a QR scan or just go to the app store, and it's a free app. And I haven't decided the name. It might be My Brookfield or Go Brookfield, and you download it. It's seamless, and it helps our citizens stay connected. So we're going to be kicking that off in the next month. We have signed with the ARPA money for 2 years of the program to see if it works, and if it doesn't work after 2 years, we can drop it. But I have Holland Township is the newest one in our area that uses it, and it seems to be, they did a soft opening of it also, and it seems to be working for them right now. In fact, I've looked at theirs online. It's we're going to kind of mirror a lot of what they did on it. Some of the things would be like, if there's a street light out, I usually take care of that. You can go right to a link and you'll be able to report the street light out as a citizen wherever it's at. So it simplifies things and it opens up our communications even broader than it is now. So that'll be happening in the next month. We had our last meet with a trustee up on the hill by Laddie's, where the old Dairy Queen was. We have 10 or 11 people there. A lot of discussion. Those things have been forwarded to our department heads as far as speeding on certain roads, and some information was provided to us on conditions of some homes and streetlights and having. So went over well. We might take a couple months off, and maybe in January we asking the library to be able to help us, and we'll have one there.
Thank you. Shannon, anything with your lovely voice? All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Remember, if you're out in boat.
You know what? I'm in charge of the
Let's take it out, take it back. I charge it. I